Good morning, it's January 17th, and this is to my liberal friends. Will Joe Biden hit the campaign trail, or will the campaign trail hit Joe Biden? This is a legitimate question because in 2020, Joe Biden hid away from the campaign trail because of COVID. He allowed surrogates to campaign for him and hid any frailties he might show. On the debate stage, he was shaky at best, and the most memorable statement he made was his son, Hunter Biden, did not make any money in China. We all know now that this was false, and I would have to assume that even Joe is aware that his nose was growing with that statement. Members of the legal community are familiar with the adage, if you have the facts on your side, pound the facts. If you have the law on your side, pound the law. If you have neither the facts nor the law, pound the table. A terser truism might apply to campaigning politicians. If your record is laudable, pound your record. If your record's inferior, pound your opponent. It's now apparent that Joe Biden has decided that he cannot run on his record, so he's going to run against Trump and try to scare voters away from Trump rather than to him. This has been the strategy in the last two presidential elections. In 2016, Trump campaigned against Hillary Clinton, and her negatives delivered a surprise win for Trump. In 2020, it was the opposite, with Biden and Democrats campaigning against Trump, and in the end, Biden won a close election. Earlier this month at Valley Forge, Biden took the stage and mentioned Trump's name over and over. He came out swinging by saying, quote, "Today we are here to answer the most important of questions. Is democracy still America's sacred cause? This is not rhetorical, academic, or hypothetical. Whether democracy is still America's sacred cause is the most urgent question of our time, and that's what the election of 2024 is all about," end quote. He went on later to say, quote, "The defense, protection, and preservation of American democracy will remain, as it has been, the central cause of my presidency. America, as we begin this election year, we must clear democracies on the ballot. Your freedom is on the ballot," end quote. Well, if democracy's been his main thing, it's because nothing else has worked. Notice not a thing about his record as president in the past 3 years. Instead, it was fear-mongering speech designed to make you afraid of Donald Trump, so just let me have another 4 years. The problem with this is the only group that's buying this line of attack are the most liberal supporters of the Democratic Party. The rest of America lists issues like inflation, the economy, immigration, and foreign policy as important issues. Now contrast that with the latest interview with Donald Trump that was conducted during a town hall on Saturday. Bret Baier of Fox News asked Trump directly if a second term by him would be about revenge and retribution. Trump fielded this question differently than he might have in the past. Trump seemed to turn the cheek and said he would be too busy doing things to the American people to worry about revenge. He did bring up the refrain that is repeated in the liberal media about his saying he would be a dictator, and corrected the saying they only took half the sentence. He reiterated that he would be just like most newly elected presidents on their first day and reverse things done that their predecessor put in place. Trump then spent the rest of the evening answering questions and began outlining what he would do to benefit the American public in a second term. On energy, he said his goal would be to make the United States energy dominant. He pointed out the cost of gas when he left was about $1.87 a gallon, and now it's still much higher. He talked about the rising cost of heating homes. He then pivoted to the border and said he would finish the wall and put an end to the massive waves of immigration. He became even bolder when he later said that if he's reelected, quote, "We are going to have the largest deportation effort in the history of our country," end quote. He said they would be sending people back to the country they came from. And if you took the time to listen, you'd have also heard Trump deflect the question on abortion and basically soft-pedaled his position. I don't think that Trump has been an ardent pro-life candidate, as some might think, and I suspect he knows that he has to come up with some form of compromise to bring suburban women back into his column. He made it plain that there has to be exceptions for women, and while not detailing them, he mentioned case of rape, incest, and when the life of the mother is at stake. He made the statement by saying, quote, "You have to win elections, otherwise you will be back where you were," end quote. That sounds like a compromise in the offing and someone that wants to win. What I got from this town hall was a very different Trump. Yes, the bravado is still there, and yes, he did sneak in a couple of digs at his primary opponents, but more than that, he spoke of what he would do. He spoke of his record, and that's a stark difference from what Joe Biden's saying these days. This might be the tactic that could bring independent voters and even some of the never Trump voters back to his column. It's a message of hope and not fear. Trump won big in Iowa, and there's no denying that he's headed for the nomination on the Republican side. The win in Iowa may even carry him to victory in New Hampshire, and that would be the end for his rivals. He's now campaigning on his record as president, and looking forward, not backwards. Joe Biden seems stuck in the past with nothing to talk about for the present or future. And finally, in recent days, I've heard rumblings that the Biden campaign might refuse to debate Trump if they're both the nominees. That would be foolish indeed and basically hand the election to Trump. But does anyone shudder to think about Joe Biden have to think on his feet on the debate stage and respond to tough questions? I know I do, and I think most of the people in the Democratic Party, they worry about that as well. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.